organization that I know from my time spent there in Tuscaloosa and my time recruiting Mobile, that's giving back to the community. And any opportunity you get to do that, we all should support that.
For supporting the Larche community the way that it has, and through the vehicle of college football.
And no matter what situation you're in, your very best is always enough.
When I think of Larche Mobile, I think of servant leadership. I think, as a football coach and as a head coach now, that is the main driver in our program, is looking to help others, and just so proud and blessed to be a part of this, and I hope to continue my association with Larche Mobile throughout.
With the people at Larche, and it's because of people like yourself that they've been able to have so much success.
Let's go be a blessing.
And but again, I want to thank Larche Mobile for this opportunity.
Well, I think Larche Mobile is a great organization that helps so many people, and we have great compassion for people, and we've tried to do a lot to help people in our community, give people that are less fortunate than us an opportunity to have a better chance to be successful and happy in their life. And this is something that Larche Mobile has done a really good job of for a long, long time, and we appreciate that more than you can know.
I'm Devin Walsh with WKRG News 5.
And I'm Randy Kennedy from Sports Talk 99.5 in Mobile.
We want to welcome all of you to the 27th Annual Football Preview benefiting Larche Mobile.
It's such an honor to be associated with Larche Mobile. I know you've been associated with them for a long time as well, Devin.
Yes, I've been associated with Larche since I was a little girl volunteering with my parents. And if you don't know a lot about Larche, you will have the opportunity to learn how Larche is helping adults with intellectual disabilities in our community all throughout this evening.
Yeah, and you're also going to hear a lot of great football talk. We've got 4 Division I head coaches. We've got some of the top media members from around the country. We've got Alabama's athletic director. And you're going to hear from a new high school head coach who just completed his future Hall of Fame career in the NFL.
Yeah, we may be virtual, but this is a star-studded lineup, and we are beginning with Bret Bielema, who is the head coach at the University of Illinois.
Yeah, Bret Bielema, no stranger to Mobile, been here several times. Very entertaining guy. He was the head coach at Wisconsin and at Arkansas. The last 3 years, he's been with the New England Patriots, picked up a Super Bowl ring there. Now he's back in the college ranks, head coach at the University of Illinois.
All right, Bret Bielema, everyone.
Hello, Larche Mobile. Bret Bielema here at the University of Illinois. Great to be back with you. I know it's been a crazy year in this COVID world that we're living in, and I want to appreciate and reach out to Marty O'Malley and thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this once again. My last time in this, I was at the University of Arkansas in SEC country. Probably a lot of you didn't like me. Maybe you still don't, but I really am excited about the opportunity to get back into college football. Since last being with you, I was with the New England Patriots for a couple years, the New York Giants, and then last December, the opportunity came back to college football, to come back here to the University of Illinois. I'm actually from Illinois, from a little town called Prophetstown, Illinois, and very excited about this opportunity. A lot has changed since then. I used to have one baby girl, Briella. Now I got another baby girl, Brexley, who just turned 2. So from my world of college football back when I started at the University of Wisconsin in 2006 and to the world we're in today in 2021, 15 years later, to be the head coach at Illinois is a great opportunity. Also want to give a shout out to Donovan. Donovan and I first met at this event a long time ago, and probably one of the more rewarding parts to my job was I'd been on the job probably less than a week or two and got text and a conversation from his dad, Marty, that they might be passing through in the area, and actually had Donovan and Marty swing by in the facilities here. One of the few people that were allowed in the building. We didn't tell anybody, keep that a secret. Allowed them to come in the building and gave them a little bit of a tour. Was able to get Donovan in some new Illini football gear. Hopefully he's still wearing it. I know that he tends to sport his favorites down there in SEC country, so hopefully he's wearing a little bit of Illinois orange and blue. So a little bit about where we're at. Absolutely been an unbelievable journey here the last couple months. Took over a program that really over the last, in this century, right, since 2000, was able to capture one Big Ten championship, really just 4 winning seasons. I'm trying to recruit 18-year-old young men here to this campus and this university, and during that window, they really only had 4 winning seasons. A couple of those were 7 and 6 years. So it's a challenge to recruit young men that have known the University of Illinois as not having a lot of success. So the change is coming. I know where it's going to get, but obviously we have to do a lot of things to get there. So I've been a steady work in progress. Hired a great staff and a good group of coaches. The players that we retained here, we actually lead the country in super seniors. That 21 players that are coming back for a bonus year. That I really didn't set forth a plan to do that. I just welcomed everybody back. I was able to watch their last game here at Illinois against Penn State on the road. Came back, got introduced to the team that afternoon, and then met with all of them and basically just told them, if you're part of the past and want to be a part of the future, we'd love to have you. And that this time in college football is very unique. The same COVID world that has affected the Larche organization, and obviously everything with this event has affected college football in the same way. But to have that many super seniors come back and be with us has been a blessing in disguise. So really excited. Also a kind of an interesting side note is when I first came here, our first game was supposed to be in Ireland against the University of Nebraska in week 0, but because of the COVID world, we've been unfortunately had to cancel that game in Ireland, but we have moved it here to Memorial Stadium right here in Champaign, and will be one of the first college football games of the year. We're in week 0, actually only two Power 5 teams that'll be going against one another. It's also a Big Ten West rival for us, so a great opportunity to get on the national media stage early on and see where it goes. Really don't know what the world lies in front of us. I do know we have gotten better. We're through practice 10 as we speak today on this recording, and have our spring game on Monday night. Monday Night Football at 7 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. So hopefully we'll get a good crowd. We were opening up our doors. We sold out our tickets. We're only allowed to have about 8,000 tickets by public policy right now, by government policy. So got rid of those in the first day. Our fans have been overwhelmingly supportive, so excited about that, and we'll see where the rest of it goes. So really couldn't tell you how excited I was to get a call to do this. I think about all the things I've learned in college football, and especially in the NFL. So I left the University of Arkansas, got a call from Bill Belichick, and joined the Patriots for my rookie year as an NFL player. Everybody always asks me, what's the biggest difference between college and pro? And it's just very simple. In the recruiting process in college football, you evaluate your players, you make a decision to offer, and you try to recruit them and get them to come to you. In the NFL, you evaluate your players and then you select them through the NFL draft. So everybody has the ability to have the same number of draft picks. Obviously, there's first round, second round, third round, fourth round. You can trade, swap out, and deal out things. But in theory, the NFL world is a much more level playing field just because of the NFL draft and the selection process. You can create advantages in the NFL, but it all kind of starts off on the same salary pool and everything else. In the SEC and the Big Ten, you not only have to recruit to the current year you're in, but you a lot of times are battling recruiting battles that you're working on 20, 30, 40, 50 years of college football history, built-in advantages or disadvantages by geographic locations and a little bit of history. So I do appreciate my time in the NFL. To have that first year be a Super Bowl year, I kind of just hopped on the ride. I joined them about midway through their year. I started off as a special assistant coach Belichick and worked in certain areas for him, but overall just kind of worked with the entire program at different levels, different jobs, different thoughts, and to experience that first year as an NFL champion and Tom Brady and all that goes into the offense side. I was working with the defense side. We played the Rams and were able to put together a plan that was one of the lowest scoring Super Bowls. I don't know that's great for the fans, but defensively it was a hell of a lot of fun. So won a Super Bowl. Next year I coached the defensive line, was part of a defensive staff that had one of the best defenses in the history of the NFL, led the NFL in defense that year. After that season was done, Joe Judge, one of my good friends, had an opportunity to become the head coach of the New York Giants. I jumped at the opportunity to join him as a senior assistant, and then really COVID hit. And we were at the combine and began to have conversations, and then I was actually on a pro day at my old school at the University of Wisconsin. They were working out a couple defensive players and O-linemen. Got word that this world might be changing in a hurry. I hopped on a flight, early morning flight from Madison to Detroit, Michigan to go to the University of Michigan pro day, and was informed when I landed in Michigan that we were getting pulled off the road by the NFL, and really the world as we know it changed dramatically there as NFL coaches. I had to do the entire spring through remote, and to get to know an entire NFL roster, 90 players, through Zoom. I was actually the director of player development, and worked closely with a staff there that worked hand in hand on a daily communication with our players, trying to build a team relationship with a group of coaches they've never met before. And I can't tell you how much that has now enabled me to have the job that I have now at the University of Illinois. When ironically, when I started here, a lot of it was through Zoom as well. So I'm not an appeasing guy aesthetically if you're in person, and camera is not always my friend as well. So the Zoom world was twice as challenging, but very, very excited. The world of college football is an awesome place to be in, whether you're in the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, Big 12, whatever it is. It's a great environment. Love college football for all the reasons you do as well. Again, I love the Larche Mobile and especially the O'Malley family for everything they stand for and represent, and it's an honor to be a part of it and continue to support it. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I look forward to being in a neighborhood near you. If you got any good players that haven't found a home, the University of Illinois is always looking, so I appreciate that. And the way we kind of say goodbye here at Illinois is just simply ILL. Appreciate you. God bless. Be safe.
Well, this is definitely an exciting time to be a USA Jag. They have a brand new head coach who has a little history at USA.
Yeah, no doubt. Kane Wommack is the head coach at South Alabama now. Previously the defensive coordinator there. Only 33 years old. One of the real up-and-comers in the entire industry. He's been the defensive coordinator at Indiana previously. Now he's back in Mobile. A lot of excitement around the program.
Yes, let's hear what he plans to do with the Jags.
Hey everyone, Kane Wommack here, head football coach at South Alabama. Just very excited to be back in Mobile. I had a chance to be here for a number of years with Joey Jones as his defensive coordinator in 2016 and 17. Was very fortunate to be a part of the success that we had at Indiana for a few years there. And then when the opportunity came back, I knew no matter where I was in life that when the chance to come back to Mobile and be a part of South Alabama football, that was something that myself and my family, we weren't going to pass up. So we love this city. It's such an awesome area, the culture, the diversity, and the history of such a great city. When you take all those things and couple that with the resources of South Alabama and all that has gone into this football program, it's just a tremendous opportunity for us to grow this program and city together moving forward. So our heart for our football program moving forward is to make sure that we connect South Alabama football to the city of Mobile. We have a tremendous city, tremendous area. Our recruiting footprint is something that we need to make sure we're connecting to. We're going to bring about 5 players every single year from the Mobile-Baldwin County area because we want to make sure that people know we're connecting to the young men that care about football and that their families, friends, students, all those things would have a chance to come to Hancock Whitney Stadium and watch homegrown talent play here at South Alabama. And so our heart for this area is we live in a very talent-rich state, a very football-rich state. And so certainly you can support other programs, but this is Mobile's football team. And if you live in the city of Mobile, you are a part of what we are doing with South Alabama Athletics athletics and particularly our football program and the way in which we're trying to engage and connect as a city and as a university and a football program moving forward together. And I think that to me is what the most exciting opportunity is for South Alabama and our football program. We don't know what the ceiling is for our program, and that to me, to know that our best days are ahead of us and that we have an opportunity to move the dial forward in this area is really tremendously exciting. When I got the job here, was great, excited to get down, looked forward to the opportunities to connect, and that was really my responsibility in the interview process. It was made very evident to me that the number one thing that we had to do was build a staff that was willing and able to connect to our players on a very dynamic level, and so I feel like that's what we've been able to do. Certainly we have roles that require proprietary knowledge. You know, our coordinators, Major Applewhite is our offensive coordinator and Corey Batoon is our defensive coordinator. Very excited about what those two bring to the table. Major has a tremendous background both as a head coach and an offensive coordinator, and then certainly as a player himself. And then you look at Corey. Both Corey and I run a system that we've been a part of for a number of years. My dad, Dave Wommack, was a longtime defensive coordinator in the SEC, and so we run his system and have just continued to move those things forward. So to be able to connect back with Corey, where we both branched out as coordinators, running the same system, now getting to do those things together is really awesome. But then you have a number of other coaches that are great position coaches. They're great teachers. They do a tremendous job of connecting to their players in the area, in their position rooms, and yet they also have a great feel for our recruiting footprint and network and connections in that area. And I think that's really important when you look at putting together a staff. Ultimately, it's about all people pulling the rope in the same direction. And when you think about a city of Mobile that's large, that there's a lot of diverse interests and all those things, but if we can move and pull together in the same direction, that's our winning combination, both as a city and as a university in South Alabama's football program. So just very excited about where we are at this point, coming off of 15 spring practices that we just finished up a few weeks ago. We were fortunate enough to bring in Jake Bentley as our quarterback. He was a starter at 3 years at South Carolina. He threw for 8,000 yards in the SEC. There's not a lot of things that he has not seen. He's not surprised by anything. He's a great decision maker, very impressed with his arm talent. He's able to create some explosive plays downfield for us. And at the same time, he's done a great job of managing our offense and taking care of the football. We're fortunate enough to have some great offensive skill players that we've been able to put around him, as well as now we're doing some things along with the offensive line. There's some guys that we're bringing in to provide some depth in those areas, as well as just very happy with what we've been able to do from a developmental standpoint of the guys that were already here in the springtime. Defensively, very excited about our athleticism. Very excited about what we have shown to this point up front as a defensive line. We've got some guys that are big, they're physical, they're athletic, they can generate some pass rush up front, and then they can also do some great things in the run game. I think it's different when you have a defensive lineman that can disengage and make plays at the line of scrimmage, and we've got a number of players that can do that, as well as some length and athleticism on the back end as well. So we're going to be fairly aggressive on both sides of the ball. And what we're doing, we were aggressive with our installs. We put a lot in on the players in the springtime. We wanted them to be able to sit with our scheme, be able to go back, watch the film, connect with what it is that we're doing in the springtime, build off of that in the summer and fall camp, and then obviously that will segue itself into the season. So we're just in a good place right now, and we've got a lot of momentum in a really awesome city that I think that we can take advantage of in terms terms of the recruiting footprint, in terms of the energy of this city and all the things that have been put into the resources of South Alabama football. Now is a time to bring energy to this stadium that is now on campus in Hancock Whitney Stadium. We're going to be at full capacity this year. We were limited a year ago, obviously, with COVID. So we're going to have a grand opening on September 4th, 2021 here against Southern Miss, and hopefully build off of that momentum moving forward. So just tremendously excited to be here, ready to connect South Alabama football to the city of Mobile. Go Jags.
Let's take a timeout for just a moment and hear a word from Larche Mobile.
Larche life is learning from each other every day.
Our next guest is hoping that the University of Alabama will bring home another national championship. Greg Byrne, who is the athletic director for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, you know, most people think Alabama is in the middle of the most successful run, not just for football, but the entire athletic department. Reached the Sweet 16 for basketball. Other sports are doing great, of course, culminating with that national championship for the football team. Greg Byrne doing a great job for the Crimson Tide as the athletic director.
All right, let's hear it. Greg Byrne.
Hi, this is Greg Byrne, Director of Athletics at the University of Alabama. Sorry we're not there in person, but I think we're making a lot of progress. Hopefully next year we'll be back together. But it's good to be in front of Larche Mobile and talking about Alabama football and college football in general. I was asked if I could talk a funny story about Coach Saban to kick it off. So, Coach has been awesome to work with in the last 4.5 years for me. His leadership has been absolutely incredible, as we've seen with the results that have taken place for our program. But both he and Miss Terry, it's not only what's happened with Alabama football, but the impact they've made on our university, on our community, the state of Alabama, the Southeastern Conference, and even from one end of the country to the other has been really historical. And it's an honor to get to work with him on a daily basis. But when I came here, Regina and I were so thrilled for this opportunity that Dr. Bell and our trustees and Fest St. John gave us the opportunity to come and serve our student athletes in the University of Alabama and our fans. And so the day I got hired, I got asked probably 100 times through the media that day, what's it feel like to be the guy that's going to hire Nick Saban's replacement? Well, that was an easy answer. We're going to try to push that down the road as far as possible. And I'm still saying that today, and we want to push that down the road as far as possible because of the incredible job he continues to do. But then about a month later, I'm here in my office in Tuscaloosa, and I had a media member say to me, he said, during a one-on-one interview, he said, who did you work with in the past that prepared you to work with Nick Saban? I thought, that's a heck of a question. I'd never been asked that before. So I thought about it for about 10 seconds, and I said, really, the answer is pretty easy. It says a guy named Rich Brooks. For those of you who follow Southeastern Conference football, which I'm guessing most of you do, you remember Coach Brooks was the head coach at Kentucky from about 2003, I think, till about 2012 or so, or 13, and did a remarkable job, probably one of the best football coaches they've ever had there since Coach Bryan coached at Kentucky. And I was the fundraiser there at Kentucky at the time. Well, Coach Brooks was also the football coach of the St. Louis Rams. He was also the head football coach of the Oregon Ducks when my dad was the athletic director back at Oregon in the 80s. So I'd known Coach Brooks literally since I was in middle school. So anyways, Coach Brooks was a defensive guy like Coach Saban. He played college football and played. He was the backup to Terry Baker, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, but he was also played in the secondary, like Coach Saban did. He's like Coach Saban to where if you play him in golf, if you play him in cards, he's going to do everything he can to beat you. Ultra competitive. So later that day, I was down seeing Coach about something we had to talk about. And I said, hey, Coach, I want to let you know about a question I got asked today. And he said, okay, what's that, Greg? And I said, I got asked who I worked with in the past that prepared me to work with you. Takes off his glasses, puts down his pencil, stares at me, said, who'd you say? I said, Rich Brooks. Turns his head the other way. He says, I like Rich Brooks. And I said, outstanding. I gave a good answer. So anyways, that was early on in our relationship, and I was thinking, man, I'm going to be curious how he reacts to it. But I guess he liked my reaction, and I told Coach Brooks that the next summer when I saw him, and he was thrilled that I was comparing him to Coach Saban. So anyways, that's a story that I have found that people seem to enjoy hearing, and it's just a great reflection on Coach Saban and also Coach Brooks as well. So a lot of obviously positive things going on with our athletic department in this past year. We've been able to win 4 Southeastern Conference championships, obviously in football, men's basketball, gymnastics, and thinking here for just a second on our 4th, gymnastics and softball. Thank you. I should know that. Going to softball regional this weekend. So been really successful, and we've been a great job by our coaches, by our student athletes. And we've had a lot of other teams maybe not win Southeastern Conference championships, but right now we think when all's said and done, either 18 or 19 of our 21 teams will make NCAA or CFP postseason, which is a really good year for us. And our goal is to get all of them there, but we're really proud of the progress we're making as a department. Our football program just continues to thrive under Coach Saban's leadership. The group we had last year, our seniors and juniors, our upperclassmen, the job they did to navigate COVID, to do the right things to protect themselves, to protect their teammates, to be respectful of one another was really good. And we stay, and Coach Saban talked about it, whoever was going to handle the disruptions the best was going to have the most success. And I think because of his leadership, but also not only his leadership, but the leadership of our university and our Dr. Bell and our trustees allowing us to move forward. When Coach and I would talk about it, I said, Coach, I think the formula is let's respect the virus, let's respect one another, and let's do everything we can to move forward safely. And that's what we did. And obviously with the national championship this past year, we're really proud of that. And the job that the young men in our program did and our coaches and staff did to make that happen. But also our fans continued to support. And we know it was not a typical year, but we were able to to move forward with that. So, as far as the team goes this year, we're very excited about what's ahead. We've got some young men that have been working really hard. Our new kids are showing up. Some have already been here. Some will show up this weekend. So a lot of positive momentum continuing for the future. On top of that, you as fans, I want you to know we've tried to be very sensitive to you through all this time. We've tried to keep season ticket prices at a flat line, and knowing the sensitivity of everybody's budget right now. On top of that, we also are trying to schedule games for Bryant-Denny Stadium I think people are going to be excited about. Starting in obviously we have the season this year in 2021, but starting next year in 2022, we start our first home-and-home series with the University of Texas. We're going to Austin, and then in 23 they'll be back here. And I think starting in 25, for the next 10 years, except for maybe one, we have 2 autonomy Power 5 teams on our schedule every year. That's going to give us a chance to go to a lot of different parts of the country and have the Crimson Tide experience new venues that we've never been to before or haven't been to for a long time. Obviously excited about Notre Dame and Oklahoma and Wisconsin, and we've got actually 2 that we're close to announcing right now that'll be coming up here hopefully in the coming weeks. We also have Oklahoma on the schedule and a lot of others. So it's going to be great for our teams. It's going to be great for our fans, and also continue to provide value for our season ticket holders to say, man, when I have season tickets, there's going to be some great opportunities there. So we're going to continue to do that going forward. And Coach has been really supportive as we've kind of evolved. And not to say we won't ever do any neutral games in the future. We very well may, but it's given us a new opportunity, and I think a real shot in the arm. On top of that, we've been very fortunate for all the success that our donors have allowed us to have with our fundraising efforts for the Crimson Standard. It's a 10-year, $600 million campaign. We're north of $400 million for that already in our payments and commitments for the future. So that's a lot of good work by our development staff and a lot of generosity by our donors. We're proud of our student athletes, what they've done academically, what they continue to do in the community to support some people who are less fortunate than us. And we understand we have a leadership role in what we have in our responsibilities here with our university, with our fans, with our student athletes as well. So thank you for everything that you do to support college football in the state of Alabama. it's a separator for us. The passion that our fans have is like no other place in the country. And that gives us an opportunity to have success at the highest levels, and we're going to continue to do that, everything we can to make sure we have sustained success today, but also give us the best opportunity for success in the future with the decisions and the actions that we take. So y'all have a great time. Look forward to seeing you in person this fall at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Roll Tide.
Up next, someone very familiar with the Crimson Tide. He's a graduate of the University of Alabama, and he is a big star on ESPN, Rece Davis.
Yeah, Rece Davis is known for being the host of College Game Day, also college basketball, international soccer, also a longtime friend of Larche here in Mobile.
Let's hear from Rece Davis.
My fellow college football fans, I don't know why I sit behind a desk and address these types of meetings and start like that, like I'm pretending to be president. That's a job no one would want. You know, I'm reminded of the old saying, if nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve. And after all, a guy like me, I already have the best job in the world, hosting College Game Day. And because of that, I get to do really fun things like be with you and share in this wonderful event at Larche Mobile. Second straight year that we've done this virtually, and it's been my honor and privilege to be a part of it. Let's share with you a quick story from last year. During last year's event that we also did virtually, I shared several stories about Lee Corso because, after all, Lee Corso is a fountain of material when it comes to sharing stories for events like these. And one of the people that Larche works with apparently found those stories entertaining, and she sent me a portrait, a caricature of LC, and it was beautifully done. It was really vibrant and colorful and really captured his spirit and personality. And during this past year on College Game Day, as those of you who I hope, and you should be, watching weekly know, due to the pandemic, LC chose to stay at home. And we had a really cool setup for him at home. And he got to do some neat things that showcased his personality with our great production team there. But I digress a bit. When I looked at that portrait and saw how it captured his personality and his energy, I thought, man, I've got to give this to him. So I boxed it up and I shipped it to LC, and I sent him a little note about where I'd gotten this portrait, or this portrait, this caricature, this piece of art. And he absolutely loved it. Shared it with his grandkids, they thought it was terrific. He particularly liked the way that it captured his smile. And I think that was most fitting when you consider the number of smiles that Lee Corso has brought to all of us as college football fans, and in my case, college football co-worker over the years. So thank you for that, and thank you for letting me be part of this again, and thank you from the bottom of Lee's heart for being able to capture his spirit and his personality in such a creative and artistic way. You know, really one of the things that we're most looking forward to about this upcoming college football season is being able to recapture that energy and personality that we draw from our fans every week. I was really proud of what we accomplished on College Game Day just to get the show done this past year, and I thought we had some great discussions. Our analysts were terrific and strong in their opinions and did a great job with tape. But no matter how good the show felt, when I would go back and review the show, which I do weekly, and I do a critique, and I do try to praise, it's not all criticism, things we could do better, things that I was proud of, things that we should build upon, all of those types of things. There was one consistent thing missing. It was the soundtrack. And by the soundtrack, I mean this not coming to your city or homegrown. It's the soundtrack of the fans, the people surrounding the set that are anticipating and getting filled with energy and adrenaline for a college football Saturday, something that I believe Game Day captures like nothing else. And I think that college football lends itself to an experience unlike any other in sports. That was missing this past year, even with the limited crowds that were allowed in many venues, or most venues in the SEC and in the South. It was a different feel on campus every week. And we are so excited about getting back to full capacity stadiums, and we hope, though it hasn't been determined for sure for a variety of pandemic reasons, which you all understand, about exactly what that's going to entail for College Game Day, but we're very confident and optimistic that we'll be able to have our normal crowds by the time the 2021 college football season kicks off. For all of the challenges, before we peek ahead to 2021 briefly, let's take a second and recognize what Alabama did this past year. What a remarkable championship, and what a great set of leaders. I've had a chance over the past month or so to spend a little bit of time with Nick Saban, and I'm sure you've heard Nick say this on several occasions, that last year's team might not have been his most talented one, but it was his best one. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Not just because they went undefeated, but because of the unique circumstances that they faced in their lives on and off the field. They met those challenges with remarkable leadership, certainly brilliant play from Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, Alex Leatherwood, Mac Jones, Pat Surtain, many others. But those guys particularly, I think, established the overused word in football of culture. But in this case, it really meant something. When those guys decided to come back, they pulled together. They were able to make their voices heard in impactful ways for off-the-field issues, and also able to lead all of the players in a common direction to pursue a common goal on the field. And the result was one of the greatest team performances that I've ever seen in my 45 to 50 years. I'm not going to tell you, well, why not? I'm 55. First season I remember is 1971. That performance by that team under those circumstances was as good as I've ever seen. And it was a remarkable achievement to win a championship. Certainly there were many other achievements over the past year as well. But as we start to look ahead to 2021, I think that some of those things that worked in Alabama's favor this past year in terms of leadership will be the biggest question about them this year as they try to return to the college football playoff yet again. There's no question they have the talent, they have the depth, they have all of the tools and all of the pieces that you'd need to pursue a championship. But the question is that intangible quality that last year's team was so brilliant at. Will they be able to find enough of that? Who will step into the void? The leaders who do step into the void, will the other players listen to them? And that's not just an Alabama problem. That's a problem for teams across the country. And the ones who are able to capture that type of spirit and intangible and build on confidence after having success are often the teams that have the most success on the field. Auburn is stepping into a different era, and I've also had time over the past few weeks to talk with Bryan Harsin and visited with him at the Philip Lutzenkirchen Memorial Charity event, which is a great cause also, by the way. And I really think that Bryan is a tremendous coach and a great choice by Allen Green and Auburn. I've been a fan of Bryan since I called his games when he was the offensive coordinator at Boise State. He just always struck me as such a precise, detail-oriented, demanding, yet not demeaning coach who really gets the best out of his players. His teams play with great toughness and resilience. And though I do think that making a transition like the one he is making into the SEC, into Auburn, sort of learning the lay of the land as he goes, so to speak, it might take a couple of years, but I think that Bryan Harsin is a winner and will do a great job. And from some of the secret sources around quarterback country, and also from talking to Bryan and others, it sounds as if Bo Nix is really having a great offseason that I look forward to seeing how that translates into this upcoming season for Auburn in Bryan Harsin's first year there. LSU, I know there are a lot of LSU fans in the area too. I think this is a really important year for them. They're very talented again, pretty dysfunctional last year, and to be able to make 2019 not seem like an aberration, it's really important to have success this year. And I do think that with a more complete roster, fewer opt-outs, they've dipped into the transfer portal, I think, and in ways, I know they've lost some guys, they've also found some guys that I think can help them. And I think just maybe having a little more unity on the staff. And while Bo Pelini is a gifted defensive coach, for whatever reason, that mix didn't work. And I think the change will really help LSU, and I think you'll see them make some noise in the SEC West. A&M is going to be really good. I think they are the primary challenger to Alabama in the West, again, even with their quarterback change situation. Ole Miss probably has the most proven quarterback, certainly in the SEC West, I would say right now, and Matt Corral, maybe in the entire conference, with all due respect to JT Daniels at Georgia and others for sure. But Corral's probably the most proven guy. So maybe with Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss is going to be ready to make a run as well. That all remains to be seen. Alabama's certainly the prohibitive favorite there, and I think Florida and Georgia are certainly the favorites in the SEC East. Clemson's going to be really good again. Ohio State's going to be good. And I think one of the things to watch early is how does the Pac-12 fare against non-conference competition? They have some opportunities. Will we see a team from the Pac-12 make it into playoff contention? And certainly Oklahoma is a candidate to be preseason #1 with Spencer Rattler. I think they've solved a lot of their defensive issues. So I think this might be a little bit different version of Oklahoma than we've seen in recent years among the teams who've made it to the playoff but been unable to find success once they got there. And don't sleep on Iowa State. Iowa State also a team that has almost everyone who contributed last year returning and should be very good for Matt Campbell. What I'm most looking forward to is getting College Game Day started, coming to your city, or you just come to ours. We love to have you out there. In fact, I'd love to open with the scene set and sort of capture the feeling and what's going on a campus on a particular Saturday. And the first time we get on campus, and I don't know when that will be, I think that it's a strong favorite, though not determined, but a strong favorite that will be neutral site for Georgia, Clemson, and Charlotte to start the season. I know Alabama and Miami played that week as well. They're great on-campus games early. Oregon and Ohio State scheduled at the moment. Auburn's going to Penn State. Whenever I get on campus for the first time, what do you think if I just start at the back of the crowd and tell them, I'm so glad to see you, I'm so happy the fans are back. How about just letting me body surf all the way to the set? I think that'd be a lot of fun. I know I've talked longer than they wanted me to. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for all the great work that you do at Larche. And I hope that we can do this in person very soon. And enjoy the upcoming season.
Don't go anywhere. Let's hear more from Larche Mobile.
Larche Life is a place where we celebrate the unique value of every person and recognize our need of one another.
Our next guest hopes to knock Alabama off its national championship throne. We're talking about the brand new head coach at Auburn University.
Yeah, Bryan Harsin comes to Auburn from Boise State. The last 7 years, 69-19 is his record. One of the most successful coaches in the country. Now he's going to see if it'll work in the really tough SEC West at Auburn.
A brand new start for Auburn University. Let's hear from Bryan Harsin.
All right, Coach, talk about your decision to take the job at Auburn and how's that transition been for you and your family?
Yeah, number one, the transition's been great. Family's been very welcomed, and we appreciate that. And not just my family, it's been our staff, everybody, that's been able to transition here. And one of the things as a coach, when you take a job, you're coming into an environment of 150, 200 people, and you all have a goal. You want to be successful, you're working towards winning, you're developing, and the families are the ones that really need to do a lot of the heavy lifting. All right, in that transition. And so for the community and Auburn to welcome our families, it's been very much appreciated. And, they're all excited to be here, just like we are as a staff. And they're enjoying the opportunity to be at a place like Auburn. And, go back to the decision to take this opportunity. One, I had a chance to meet Alan Green, the athletic director, a few years ago. And our conversation, he made a great first impression. Obviously, we got a chance to get to know each other a little bit. And, I really enjoyed that conversation that I had. It was something I remembered. And fast forward 5 years later, here we are on the phone talking about an opportunity at Auburn. And the first impression was a big part of this decision. His leadership, his vision, where Auburn football wants to go, and then the opportunity to be in the very best league. The SEC is not just the best football, it's the best athletes, it's the best overall in any sport when you really look at it. This is where the best athletes come to compete, is in the SEC. And so to be a part of a program that's in that league and to be at a place like Auburn where you have a chance to compete at the highest level in the toughest division in football, and a team that's won national championships before, that was exciting. And the brand is strong. And that's one thing. You know, you go back even to Boise, Idaho, you start talking about Auburn football, everybody knows what that is. And so the leadership, the level and opportunity that you get to be a part of here in the SEC, and then the Auburn brand, those are all very strong and all reasons why this seemed like a great fit. And at the end of the day, when we talked about the things that are important here at Auburn, when you talk about family, you talk about tradition, you talk about culture, you talk about history, things that I really believe in, that was what really sealed it for me, is I believe in those things are important to me, and this team is about hard work. The tradition, history are things that appeal to me, and so it all came together and made it the right decision for my family and I.
Obviously, you've been busy the last few months. Talk specifically about spring practice and what you were able to accomplish and what you were able to see out of your team.
Well, we got our 15 practices, and if you go back to last spring, that didn't happen. And so number one, I appreciate our medical staff, I appreciate our players and everybody on our staff to make that happen. And so we were able to get that work in, which was much needed. And with the new staff, new systems, you need that time, and we need more. But that was great time for us to be able to have the meetings, to be able to put that on the field, to see it, and to go back and review it. Leading up to that, the workouts, everything that we did conditioning-wise to get our team prepared, it was all new. And so, the players went through a lot. It's not easy in a transition. They went through the change of coaches, they went through the change of terminology, they went through the change of how they prepare, and the things that we do physically to develop ourselves, and they did a great job. They opened up their heart, they opened up their minds, and they were able to adapt to the things that we were doing. As a staff with new members too, we adjust as we go. But a lot was done in a short amount of time. Those practices were crucial, and now we have time to go back and really review, all right, what did we get done? What was done well? What do we have to continue to keep improving on? And then how do we use that information heading into summer? And summertime is really where I believe a lot of difference is made in a player, in an individual player, than just in a team. All right, you have now everybody that's going to be a part of your team is there in the summer. Those later guys that come in, that's signed. Any new guys that are coming in the spring are going to be out there in the summer. And so you're at full strength. You have your entire team, that is everybody that's going to be on that roster for the 2021 season playing. And now you're developing that chemistry. You're putting in the work in the summertime, which is a lot of physical work, a lot of conditioning, a lot of work in the weight room. They're getting some of their practices on their own during that time. And it's a continuation of spring, but it's just another phase of development that is probably the most important as you lead into a season, because you're preparing for August, and August is really that checkpoint. You got to be ready for those 25 practices. You got to be ready for that grind to get prepared for the season. And those practices and that time is what gets you ready to go play, hopefully, in those 15 games that you get a chance to play in. And so it was valuable for us to have that. I thought we took a lot away from it. I think the players have a lot better understanding of where we're going and the things that we need to do. And our coaches, they've got a lot of footage now on our guys that they can use and go back and teach and help these players develop. And at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We're here to develop our players. We're here to build relationships with our guys and to help them be successful. If we can do those things through the summer, we'll get into fall camp, we'll be ready and prepared for that, and then we'll maximize that time.
You've already touched on this a little bit, but Coach, what's the crucial part here in the next coming months for you and your staff in terms of working with your players?
Yeah, a continuation of what we built in spring. And again, our staff, we still need to spend time with our players. It's still getting to know these guys. It's still teaching these guys what we're doing, spending time with them, and really it comes down to the relationship piece. And that's a huge part right now as we work our way into summer and start preparing for the next 2 months. But keep building relationships, and then keep working on what we've installed. Keep working on the expectations. Keep working on the process of how we're going to get those things done. And so it's just time. That's really what we need. We need time, and this opportunity this summer, especially in June, allows us to do that. as we transition into July, we're getting closer to August. And, during that time, just how we move through summer and the things that we're able to do and hopefully take from the spring is going to help us get further faster. That's really the goal right now, is we got to take what we learn and we got to move fairly quickly through the summer and really push ourselves. So we get into fall camp, we're ready for that. And we can hopefully do all the things we want to do in camp. We can prepare the way we need to get ourselves ready for the season. And now that takes time. And so our coaches know that. I believe our players know that. And so the next 2 months are going to be crucial for our development as we go into August.
One more quick question. What do you enjoy most about coaching?
Yeah, what do I enjoy most about coaching? There's a lot of things. The development piece. I really, at the end of the day, I enjoy the relationships, but I really enjoy the development and the, personally as well. It's not just for other people. I enjoy that as much as anybody. I enjoy being around highly competitive people that want to push themselves to try to be their best every day. And that environment, since I was 5 years old, I've been a part of a team. And I've chosen that as a profession. I want to be a part of a team. I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. And that's a choice. And to me, I feel like personally I operate better that way. When I'm surrounded by individuals that want to work together and want to push themselves and want to develop themselves, I enjoy that environment and being a part of it. Now, as a head coach, I enjoy leading that environment and kind of directing the path of where we're going to go. But at the end of the day, it comes back to the type of people that you have in your program, not just the players and coaches, it's everybody. We have 200 plus people that are part of this football program, and when everybody's working to be their very best and everybody's really taking their area of responsibility and trying to maximize what they do and bring the most value to the team, there's no environment, in my opinion, anywhere that's like that. And you got so many unbelievable people that just are so good at what they do, and when you can bring that together and you can put that focus all in one direction to achieve a goal or to achieve whatever it is we set out for ourselves, that's what I enjoy most. And when you have days like that, and not every day goes like that, but when you have days like that, and you walk out of that facility and you're like, damn, that was a hell of a day. We did a lot of great things. We got great people. And what it does is it gets you energized to come back, right? So you show up the next day, you look forward to being around that, and you're getting better, and hopefully you're providing things for the people around you to improve. And to me, I think you can put it into one word, it's purpose, right? Just you have a purpose. You're a part of something, you have a purpose. And I think everybody's searching for that, and being a part of a team gives you that.
Let's take a time out for just a moment and hear a word from Larche Mobile.
I'm Steven. I live in Larche for 8 or 9 years now, and I am for Auburn. And War Eagle.
And I'm Mike, and I've been in Larche for 29 years. I'm a live-in team member, and I like Auburn. I'm an Auburn fan, and I like their uniforms and their helmets. They got cool helmets.
All right, from Auburn to one of Auburn's SEC rivals, Ole Miss. We're happy to have Lane Kiffin back with us tonight.
Lane Kiffin was the youngest NFL coach of all time when he was hired in 2007 at the age of 31 to coach the Oakland Raiders. Of course, we know him around here as the head coach at Tennessee, an assistant at Alabama, head coach at Southern Cal, now at Ole Miss, where he's got one of the most exciting offenses in college football today.
Let's hear what Lane Kiffin has to say.
I'm excited to be part of your event today, and I know this crowd is very interested to see what we're doing as a football program. So our first season was a lot of obstacles. We didn't have spring ball. Fall camp was different than what we were used to, and an all-SEC schedule of 10 SEC games, which ended up being 9. I'm not playing the A&M game. So, we didn't have a book of how to do that. And, we'd be getting ready for practice, and at 7 a.m. you could get a text from the trainer that these 4 players were out, and you're trying to prepare for a game on a Thursday. So that was uncharted territory for us. I do think that our players handled that. I mean, think about it. We took offensive players and had to make them defensive players, not just for practice, but it actually happened in games. I remember the Auburn game, looking out there, and it's a 2-minute drive to win the game on defense. We have 2 players that are offensive players playing defense that barely know our calls. We're having to yell at them what to do. So, and eventually they score on that drive, and we lose the game. So it was interesting. I thought we played okay early, had a chance to win some games that, we didn't at the end, and then we finished, pretty strong. And, the Outback Bowl experience, I think, was great, even though we weren't there for a whole week like normal, just, like one extra day. But to springboard us into the off season, into recruiting, national stage like that, was great for our guys. And we played without a lot of players. We had 2 of our best players opt out prior to that, and then a bunch of injuries for that game, especially offensively. So guys stepped up. John Rice Plumlee went from being the second quarterback to playing in crunch time as a slot receiver. And so it was a neat locker room atmosphere afterwards for us to win, and all those new guys stepping up was awesome. So this year's recruiting class was a big challenge. We didn't have these guys for the most part on campus ever. We didn't go to their houses, their schools to research them. So again, something different than we'd ever done before. And that was challenging because you're trying to learn about a kid on Zoom. He's trying to learn about you and your program and your town and your school, but yet he can't really see it. And so we just have to explain it. And then also learn about the kids, because it's not just what you see on film. You got to learn about, their work ethic, how do they handle themselves, their personalities. So the kids are making decisions on a lot of times they'd never even been to the place or met in person the coaches. So I think our coaches did a really good job to sign a top 20 class. In the midst of all that was, really good. So as we go into next season, I think the headliners would be, the offensive players, 4 offensive linemen return, all the receivers but Elijah, the running backs, and obviously the quarterback. So there's a lot of challenges in developing depth, a lot of touches to replace what Elijah Moore was able to do. And on defense, we return a lot of players, but obviously we didn't play up to our standards. So hopefully the last game, we started to play better in the bowl game. And, we do have a lot of new players coming in, as well as some transfers that had to sit out defensively last year. So we look to be a lot better on defense. I think Matt Corral has great potential. You saw it. You saw him play as well as anybody in the country in the majority of the games, and you saw him in 2 games, not play well. So you got to remember that he was a sophomore, and that happens sometimes. So hopefully he takes that next step to be more consistent, play the way that he played in his good games throughout all the games, and then you're talking about having an All-American type of year. Well, the next steps for the offense is not production really, because they had great production, especially yards. I think number 1 in the country in Power 5 teams, and it's taking care of the ball better, which has a lot to do with the quarterback. But the red zone really was the one glaring thing. We were really good in most categories, but too many times in the red zone we didn't finish. We go for it a lot, so some 4th downs there that we didn't make that we could have, and then you're talking about a much different story in some games. So that'll be very critical in our off season to develop that. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a great event. Go Rebs.
Larche Mobile has been a part of the Mobile community for nearly 50 years, and the executive director, Marty O'Malley, has been a part of that for the last 40. Tonight, he is receiving a special award from Randy Eckhoff with the Cottage Hill Civitan International Club.
Hey, I'm Randy Eckhoff with Cottage Hill Civitans. We're happy to be here tonight to help Marty with his football preview, but more importantly, we're here to show our appreciation to Marty for all the work he does with the intellectual and developmental community here at Larche. Marty has been here for 40 years, and we want to honor him with the Civitan Servant Heart Award for his work with Larche for 40 years.
Thank you, Randy, for honoring myself, but more importantly, honoring the work that Larche Mobile is sharing life with people with and without intellectual disabilities.
Marty, we wish you well for the next 40 years if you're around.
Thank you.
Okay.
Our next guest has been a friend of Larche for years, Ivan Maisel, and he loves to talk about all things football.
No doubt he is a native of Mobile, a graduate of Murphy High School, where his dad was a very successful high school basketball coach. Ivan's been a writer for several great publications around the country and was the head of ESPN's College 150, looking back at the history of the sport, one of the real authorities on college football in the country.
I always enjoy hearing from Ivan Maisel.
Hi everyone, Ivan Maisel here. Wish I could look out and see all of you at the Mitchell Center. Instead, I look out the window, in my office, in my attic, in Connecticut. Oh well. Allow me to join in thanking all of you for your support of Larche and the wonderful service it provides the Mobile area. This season marks the 40th anniversary of the first college football game I ever covered as a fully employed journalist. Clemson beat Wofford. It was not a fair fight. But then again, Clemson beat everyone it played in 1981 en route to winning the national championship. I also covered an Alabama game that season, a narrow 19-10 victory at Kentucky, significant only because it was the 308th victory of Bear Bryant's coaching career and 6 short of Amos Alonzo Stagg's record. It was the only game of Bryant's that I ever covered, and I did make sure that I asked him a question at the post-game press conference just to say I did. Here's the thing. Coach Bryant lived for not quite 16 more months. He died in January 1983, on my birthday, as a matter of fact. And he was 69 years, 4.5 months old. While his death came as a shock, it was a shock because he had just been coaching, not because he was young. This was just 40 years ago, but Bryant seemed like an old man. And in that sense, his death wasn't all that unusual. Woody Hayes retired from coaching at age 65 and died at 74. Duffy Daugherty retired at age 57 and died at 72. You may be wondering why I bring this up. You may be wondering who Duffy Daugherty and Woody Hayes are. Look them up. They were pretty good coaches. But my point is simple. 2 months ago, Nick Saban surpassed the age Bear Bryant was when he died. Nick Saban, the coach of the reigning national champion and 6 other national champions before that. Nick Saban, the Mufasa of college football. Everything a stadium light touches is his kingdom. Nick Saban turns 70 in this coming October. I wrote a piece for The Ringer this past winter explaining how Saban does not match the profile of coaches who get too old to coach. For one thing, he's willing to change as the game changes. He's won at Alabama by running the ball. He's won by passing the ball. He's won out of a huddle. He's won without a huddle. Nick Saban loses assistant coaches the way I lose sunglasses, and yet Alabama keeps winning. Bobby Bowden's reign atop the polls at Florida State ended when his top assistants began taking head coaching jobs. And that's not all that unusual. It's tough for head coaches to keep good assistants together, and when they lose them, a lot of times the message the coach is trying to get to his players gets lost. That doesn't affect Nick Saban. He knows how to deliver his message, and his assistant coaches learn it pretty quickly. The other thing is that the pain of losing hasn't worn Nick Saban down. But then again, in the last 10 years, Nick Saban has only lost 11 games. But here's the thing and the point I want to make. The fact is, we live in the golden age of age. Saban isn't the only one in college football who's getting older and isn't losing his fastball. Mack Brown, who's already in the College Football Hall of Fame, returned to the North Carolina sideline 3 years ago at age 67. Brown took the Tar Heels to the Orange Bowl last season. He'll turn 70 the week before this season starts. Then there's Frank Solich, who hasn't had a losing season at Ohio in 13 years. Frank Solich will turn 77 in the second week of this season. He's still going strong. The golden age of age is not just happening among college football coaches either. Our heroes are all living longer. Bob Cousy is 92 years old. Willie Mays turned 90 this month. Gary Player, who just striked one off the first tee at Augusta National, not just last month, really. Gary Player's 85 years old. He's 1 month older than Sandy Koufax. He's 3 months older than Jim Brown. And at one time or another, Cousy, Mays, Player, Koufax, and Brown all were declared the best ever in their sport, just like Saban. The difference, of course, is that Nick Saban is still the best in his sport. A Baton Rouge radio guy said last December that the day that man, which I love, that man, the day that man coaches his last game will be the greatest day ever for the rest of college football. I disagree. I mean, let's point out, it sure doesn't seem as if Saban's going anywhere anytime soon. But I disagree because love Alabama or hate Alabama, we should all appreciate what we're seeing. There's never been a coach quite like Nick Saban, and there's never been a time quite like today. The golden age of age. Thanks again for your support of Larche, and let's all hope that next year we are together again in the Mitchell Center. Thanks for listening.
Okay, from college football to high school football, you probably heard that St. Michael Catholic High School in Fairhope has landed a big-time new head football coach, Philip Rivers, who's a former NFL quarterback.
Yeah, not just a former NFL quarterback, but 5th all-time in passing yards over his 17-year career with the Chargers and the Colts. His entire life, he wanted to follow in the footsteps of his dad, who is a legendary high school coach, and now Philip is going to get his chance at St. Michael. I think he will do well.
I do too. Let's hear what Philip Rivers plans to do with the Cardinals.
Hi, I'm Philip Rivers, head football coach at St. Michael Catholic High School. We're sitting here in the locker room now, excited to be back in Alabama after being gone for, almost 21 years. I grew up in Decatur, Alabama, son of a high school football coach, and excited now to be following his footsteps and coaching. You know, I often got asked, I went to college at NC State, and I often got asked, why not Alabama or Auburn? So I'll briefly tell you that story. Alabama didn't really recruit me that year, didn't really take a quarterback that year. Brody Crowell was kind of already in the works. He was a year or two behind me. And then Auburn did recruit me. They, believe it or not, wanted me to play tight end. So that scared me away from being an Auburn Tiger. It's funny now, Senator Tuberville, we're neighbors over at the beach in Florida, but it's funny when I see him now. He said you come a long way from Athens High School when I wanted you to play a little tight end. But so that was how I ended up at NC State, and then from there went to San Diego Chargers. And I was there for 16 years in San Diego. And I remember early on as a player there, as a quarterback, young rookie, first few days of practice, I was there and we were doing 7-on-7 and doing offensive things. Such. And I remember the offensive coordinator pausing the tape once and looking at me and going, why didn't you throw it? Why didn't you throw the ball? And I said, Coach, he's covered. And he said, he's wide open. You know, he said he's wide open. So that adjustment from high school to college and to pros with the receivers being wide open, or at least what I thought was open, and then now them being a little covered was quite the transition as a young quarterback in the NFL. Thankful to have a long career there in San Diego, 16 years. In San Diego and in LA for the last 3, but all with the Chargers there before finishing with the Colts in 2020. But it was an awesome career, one I'm very thankful for. We didn't win a Super Bowl, but it was about the people and the teammates that I was able to be with all those years, the ups and the downs, and being on that journey together. I think that's what makes any career, certainly being a part of this sports world and part of a team, is what makes it awesome, is the journey together. Trying to climb the mountaintop each year, you get to start again, and go try to be the best you can be each year. And you know, only one team's happy ultimately at the end, that wins that championship trophy. But I had so many great teammates and great coaches throughout my career that I learned so much from. That really, now coming back to Alabama, 21 years later, grew up in Decatur, so about 5 hours south here in Baldwin County in Fairhope. But feels like home. And circling all the way back to that Auburn, Alabama story is now my children are getting asked. I have 9 children, 7 girls and 2 boys, and now they're getting asked, are you an Alabama or an Auburn fan? And I quickly, I forgot that you're usually one or the other if you live in this state. So my children are getting asked that, and they're not sure who they're for yet. So I guess they'll have to figure it out. I tell them they can always say NC State, where Dad played. But certainly glad to be back here in the state. Excited to be coaching. My dad, as I mentioned, was a high school football coach for 30 years, and he's part of the Alabama High School Coaching Hall of Fame here. So certainly leaning on him quite a bit to learn, how to run a program. He never won a state championship, but he always said his state championship trophies were in his desk drawer, and it was the numerous letters that players had written him. That the coach played for you in '88, and now I live in Utah and have 3 children. But those years playing high school football, I learned this and this and this, and I carried that with me. It helped me be a better man. And I think that's what we're looking to do here at St. Michael, is not just to coach the player, not just to help them throw a touchdown pass or make a great tackle. All those things, the fundamentals of football, we do want them to improve and get better. And if they have a chance and aspirations, both an opportunity and have aspirations to play at a higher level, we want to help facilitate that for them and help them chase their dreams. But at the same time, it's more than that. It's more than the game, more than the X's and O's, more than the scheme. It's about the whole person. And here at St. Michael, we're going to try to help them grow in their faith, help them grow as men, help them to grow to be better husbands and fathers one day. And that whole package that's so important. I felt like the parallels of football, really all sports, but for me, being in football my whole life, for football and life, for football and living out our faith, they're so intertwined, and the virtues and the characteristics, they're all the same. I mean, the ones you need to succeed and to grow in those areas of your life are the same ones in football that carry over to your other walks of life and other things that you do. So we're going to do that here and try to help mold and raise up, be a part of raising up young men to be help this community be a better place. And one of my favorite phrases is a Latin phrase, nunc cepi. I say it the Alabama way, but N-U-N-C-C-O-E-P-I is how you spell it. It means now I begin, and it's a never-ending beginning. It's something that a couple of the teams I played for, we use that as kind of a motto. It'll be a motto. It's here on our weight room walls. Just that we're always beginning again in our schoolwork, in our faith, in our family, in our football program. You throw a touchdown, you begin again. You throw an interception, you begin again. So we're always beginning again. All about that process and growth mindset. Certainly, we're going to have those goals of winning a state championship one day and winning the region and all those things. But it's going to be about the process and about beginning again one day at a time. But certainly excited to be down here in South Alabama, in Baldwin County and Mobile County, right across the bay, and be a part of this community. My family and I are very, very thankful to be here, and look forward to what's ahead.
Our next guest always keeps us entertained. Syndicated talk show host Chuck Oliver.
Yeah, Chuck can be heard on 48 stations across the Southeast, talking college football 365 days a year. He's a wealth of knowledge, going all the way back to his love for the sport from a very early age.
All right, take it away, Chuck.
Thank you to Marty and everyone at Larche Mobile for asking me to be part of such a great event again. I appreciate now. I think it's the 3rd year in a row I've been able to be part of this. So, again, thank you for asking. And then also everybody watching tonight. I appreciate you jumping in and being part of the show as well. I am Chuck Oliver, and as I said, you can hear me every day in Mobile. WNSP, the original sports talk station on FM, that's for sure. 1 to 3 every day, and online you can find the show. We're in 9 states, 51 radio stations every single day talking college football. So that's what I do on my end. And on my show every day, it is exclusively college football. Around the calendar, the entire year, it is college football every single day that I'm on. My love of college football goes back to when I was not quite 3 years old. I remember first college football game I ever went to, Clemson hosting Auburn, October of 1970. and we had tickets, and I still got my stub way back on the bottom of the shoebox, and it was section GG. And I remember being at the game and looking at the stub years later, and I remember being in the end zone where all the players would run down and where you see the rock and all that big ceremony today. Well, people sit in the end zone. And years later, I remember looking at the ticket stub and asking my father, I was like, Section GG, I've been back to Clemson. What is that? That's not how they numbered their sections. And he said, no, that's section green grass. We sat in the end zone. I was like, that's right. I remember it. Blanket, quilt, whatever in the end zone. And that's just how you did it when you had the cheapest tickets possible. And Auburn rolled that day. I think it was 44-0 to beat Clemson. At least that's what the scoreboard says on my brick in the wall at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. So, again, that was my first college football game. And now all these years later, I am able to keep the lights on and food in the cabinet because of it. As far as what's going to happen on the field this year in the Southeastern Conference, if Kirby Smart takes the training wheels off the offense, you are going to see a completely different product in Athens. They have the upperclassman, returning starter, experienced quarterback who's now done it at 2 different Power 5 universities, and JT Daniels can absolutely sling it. Even having to overcome the loss of a great receiver like George Pickens, I have a lot of confidence in that offense, especially with what they're going to be facing in the East this year. I'm a little higher on Dan Mullen and the Gators than some. A lot of talk about the big transition to Emory Jones, and I've said 10 times that the adjustment, like 2020, big, strong pocket passer, Kyle Trask, that was the adjustment season for Dan Mullen. This year with Emory Jones, that's actually Dan Mullen thinking, all right, now I can turn back to those chapters of the playbook that I love coaching, and we've seen some of that in Gainesville, saw a whole lot of it in Starkville. I think this is actually really a comfort zone season for Dan Mullen. Now, while his play sheet will look a little more familiar and what he really wants to do, you lose a quarterback like Kyle Trask and all the shiny, sparkly stuff on the perimeter, that's going to be something to overcome. And I really think that Georgia's going to have an easier time in the East than I just want competitive football in November. And I don't think that I'm going to get that this year. I think that they really could decide things in Jacksonville with a dub down there. But the cool part about the East is the Percy position. And I've said that, Percy Harvin, he's been gone from college football for about a dozen years now. We need to come up with a new example, but it's still kind of the Percy position, especially when you got a guy like Kadarius Toney last year in Gainesville. Awesome. All over the Southeastern Conference this year, you got Percy's. You got Wan'Dale Robinson, the kid transferred from Nebraska, chose Kentucky. Tyler Beatty out at Missouri. Georgia with James Cook. I think maybe the best Percy in the entire conference, maybe in America, Anaya Smith. And I'm talking about a guy, not a running back who catches passes. I'm talking truly about a receiver, maybe a slot guy, but who can also return kicks or punts, take the ball on handoffs, etc. Anaya Smith may be better than anybody in America at that. And so the Percy position, even though we need to update the reference, it's going to be a fun season because all over the SEC you're going to find kids like that. And remember, anything we can say about Texas A&M coming back and LSU, etc., you still got to go through Tuscaloosa. And Nick Saban has now extended, if my counting is correct, Nick Saban has extended the most impossible college football statistic that I've ever run across. I believe it's 19 straight recruiting classes across 2 different SEC programs. Every kid who has taken a scholarship from Nick Saban and stayed at least 4 years has at least 1 national championship ring. Every kid for 19 straight recruiting classes, they leave with hardware, sometimes a fistful of it. So that's about the most effective recruiting pitch that I could think of, and obviously he keeps putting it to use. So whatever we can say about how good Jimbo's going to have that squad looking, and Miles Brennan or Max Johnson bringing that team back, and Bryan Harsin and everything fun going on in Oxford, etc., you still got to get through Alabama, and even a great coach like Jimbo Fisher knows that. So that's the preview to the 2021 season. Again, I appreciate everybody with Larche inviting me to be part of the program again.
Devin, I hope everybody else has enjoyed as much as I have and you have of hearing from all these coaches, media members, and even the athletic director at Alabama on this very special night.
Well, before we go, though, let's hear from Marty O'Malley, who is the executive director of Larche Mobile.
I want to thank you all for joining us tonight on yet another unique annual football preview. Due to the uncertainty of COVID-19, our committee decided to keep the football preview as a virtual event in order to keep our community members free from any potential exposure to the infection. Our hope is we will be back in 2022 with our traditional evening dinner and speakers. We hope that you each had an enjoyable evening listening to our friends in the football world talking about the upcoming football season. I want to thank all of our speakers for taking the time to share about football and sports in today's world. I want to thank our sponsors and our faithful committee members who helped make this a successful night. This past fall, we celebrated Peggy's 81st birthday and her 41st anniversary living and sharing life at Larche Mobile. As with most of us, Peggy's needs have changed, and thanks to our team members, friends, and benefactors, we have been able to continue to meet Peggy's needs. Peggy is just one example of 25 people who we share life with, living the mission of sharing life with individuals with intellectual disabilities. Larche Mobile relies on about a third of our revenue from private donations. So I invite those people that are able to donate to Larche Mobile. You can go to our website at larchemobile.org for a PayPal donation or Venmo us at Larche Mobile. Larche Mobile Foundation Board is charged with long-term giving, and we would invite you to call our office at 251-438-2094 to set up a time to discuss this opportunity. Your support makes a lasting impression on the lives of our community members. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and I wish that each of you and your families continue to be safe.
What a great evening. Thank you so much for joining us for the 27th Dex Imaging Football Preview.
Yeah, it really has been a great night. Can't wait till next year. The 28th annual event will be live again. We're really looking forward to that. And a great cause and a great event. We appreciate you guys being a part of it.
Yes, thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next year.
Good night.